Hey everyone, so in this video I'm going to be going over how to draw straight, wavy, curly, and spiky hair, and here I have 3 girl heads and 4 male heads to, just fill it in. So if you want, you can pause and you can just draw 3 female heads and 4 male heads if you want, or you can just, you don't have to draw it, you could just draw some spheres and that'll be good enough, but I like to draw heads because it just fits more with, it just kind of makes it look more like a wig, right? So let's get started with drawing straight hair for girls. Very simple as always. It's just going to be similar to how we've always done it. Of course, this depends on what we first want to understand where the bangs go or exactly what direction this is in. So let's say that this is your standard straight normal hairstyle. So one normal hairstyle would be the bangs are quite forward. I might need to replace my lead, so I will be right back. Alright, change my lead. Anyways, let's continue on. I always like to, make my bangs kind of partial or kind of, let me see here. Come on, lead, come out. There it goes. I always like to separate my bangs into big, medium, and small shapes, understand where the flow is. So I like to put one bang in the middle, one bang on the side, and another bang on the other side that frames the face. And of course, if you're going for long hair, you can draw a parting in the middle, draw a big strand on top that covers over the hairline or the head, and then just draw it straight down. You don't have to do too much to this. And then if you want, you can divide this into a few strands. I would go for big, then once again, medium, and then small. So I have a big strand, and then I have a smaller strand next to it, and then more strands kind of overlapping on top. And of course, if you want to leave the ear out, you can go ahead and just draw the ear right on top of the hair. If you want, you can also add in some hairlines to show some more form and flow. So just about that would be enough for straight hair. Now let's go for more wavy hairstyle. I'm going to actually move this and draw this a little bit more to the side here, or more a little bit smaller. So I'm just doing very, very roughly. It doesn't have to be super accurate. I just want you guys to understand how to draw hair on the head. So when it comes to wavy, this will be a little bit complicated, but don't worry, we're going to go step by step. So once again, I always like to make sure that I have the bangs ready. So I want the bangs going this way, going more towards the side, and framing the face this way. And of course, if you however long or short you want to make it, be my guest. Because this is more of a wavy length, it could be good for a more medium length. So I would actually end it about shoulder length, similar length to the hairstyle here. So what I like to do first is draw the outline. Just kind of draw in the basic shape. Understand that this is more like wavy, so not very curly, just kind of more wavy. So imagine like sea waves or ocean waves, and then try to draw that and overlap curls on top of each other. So simple shapes like this work very well. You can even overlap more curls on top and make sure that the curls flow nicely. So it's not just one curl being the opposite of another. It's like there's one movement going along. So you're not going to contradict other motions with different strands, or else it'll be too confusing. So what I mean by that is you don't want one strand to go this way and then suddenly another strand to go this way, because that doesn't look very pretty. You want it to be in a similar direction. So if you want more of a similar direction, you can overlap in a similar direction, but not completely the same width or length. So notice how I'm making this part thicker, making this one thinner, and so on and so forth, but they're still going in a similar direction, going downwards. Same thing here. I am dividing these into multiple strands, some big, some small, some more short, and some just overall has more mass. So that is how you draw wavy hair, really, really simply. Let me zoom out. Then curly hair. As you can see, I drew these, this hair a little bit, these heads a little bit too close to each other, but I think it'll work out fine. Curly hair is a lot trickier, but you can simplify it even more than wavy hair. So let's give her some poofy hair. How about that? So let's give her a parted bang look. And to make it extra curly, you want to make the curls a lot tighter. So rather than more like undulating, flowing waves like this, you want to actually tighten up your curls a little bit more. So that includes also bunching up the shapes. So notice how rather than drawing individual strands, I kind of clump the curliness together, kind of like a little cloud. You can definitely do that. In fact, I would say it works really, really well. And you can also add more like rounder, tighter curls in between. So notice how I am making this all into one big clump and then putting little details in between that are tight and round. So let's give her some ponytail. So of course, if you want to give her a ponytail, just make sure that you have a nice guiding lines to show that her hair is being tied up. And if you want to draw the ponytail, you can go ahead and simply draw in the nice shape. So of course, you first want to plan this a little bit. I like to plan this by drawing the overall shape, just understanding if this is a rounder curl and where it tapers or where it ends. So judging by this, I can then add some variation. So adding some nice little roundness curls and the like. I can even add a bottom side to the ponytail just to show some depth. And then I can also add little bounces of curls everywhere else that add to the silhouette. But once again, it doesn't have to be too complicated. It could just be as simple as that. And that is how you draw curly hair for girls. And let's go ahead and draw some straight hair for guys. How about that? Because that's, I've shown you guys a few times already, but just to recap, if you want to draw straight hair, make sure you just go down towards the gravity. If it's swept to the side, make sure that every strand is going in a certain direction and not just all over the place. So notice I always draw the bangs first. And once I group that together, then I could go ahead and diversify. So because this guy's hair is straight, I'm going to make sure that we see his scalp here and where the hair connects. And then we can just draw the hair going down this way, going downward in a straight way. And that's just a very simple straight hairstyle. Over time, you guys will get used to this, and we'll see that a lot of this is very repetitive. So wavy hair now will be a little bit different. I'm going to make this kind of more like suave looking. So I'm going to part his bangs in this case. So I'm going to make sure that all these waves are a lot bigger this time, so they're more swept. So this is group A, which is our front, making sure we have our front and sides ready, and also have a nice flow to it. So notice how rather than making it go downward, I'm making it kind of lift up a little bit. That's the wave. You can give him a little cowlick, and you can give the rest of the hair some body. So if you want, you can even just add some more waves to his hair by guiding this into a certain direction and also adding some overlaps of the hair. So that will help with understanding form. In fact, you could even make the ends of his hair a little bit more curled up just to give it that more wavy look. So that is one way you can do that. Then we have curly, which of course depends on how long or how short you want it to be. I am going to make it just more like kind of like a mop head, I would say. This is quite common as well. So if I want to draw my little head or my hair that's more wavy, more curly and dense, rather than make it flowing and graceful like this, I'm going to bunch it up once more. So I'm going to just kind of go ahead and bunch this up and draw in his bangs. So of course, this just depends on how you want to style the bangs. I'm making this a little bit more short and bunched together so you can see the difference. So notice how tight the circles I am making are. And that'll give a sense of tightness and curly feeling. Of course, if you're kind of like poofing out his hair, then this is a good way to do it as well. So once again, I'm drawing the outline of the hair, making sure that the gravity is still pulling it down. But we have inner strands, kind of supporting the whole shape. And of course, we have the origin of where his hairline is. But notice how I'm not going all over the place. I'm just putting in areas where I want to be emphasized, such as around the front of the bangs and adding more detail towards the sides here. So don't go too crazy on it. Just emphasize areas that you want to emphasize. So notice how I also have less detail on the top and more detail on the bottom. That's another way that you can do it. And last but not least, we have our spiky hair, which, of course, if you've seen characters like Naruto and Kakashi and all these other shonen protagonists, they most of the time have spiky hair. So I'm going to be just doing a classic, your classic kind of straight front-on bangs with spiky hair, right? So let's say, for instance, we have some hair that is more going straight and kind of fraying out. So notice how rather than making it droop down like the straight hair is, I'm making it more diagonal in shape. And that's how you want to approach this. So if you want to go in a certain direction, go ahead and do it in a certain direction. Don't make it too high. Make sure that you have a certain height, and then as it goes further, it gets lower and lower. And notice how when I'm drawing these shapes here, I'm not making all these shapes even. I'm making them sort of thick, and then thin, and then thick again. If you want to add some dynamic or some more layering onto the bangs, be my guest. Then the other way can be a little bit more subdued. It doesn't have to be spiky everywhere. In fact, it's better if you have a spiky look in one direction than the other, because that will, if you do it all over the place, it will make him look like a spike ball. And of course, if you want it to be like that, then be my guest and do that. However, I tend to prefer more of a stylized, more slanted, kind of messy hairstyle. But anyways, hopefully that was enjoyable. Hopefully that was helpful on how to draw hair for both guys and girls. Let me know what you guys need help with. And of course, feel free to ask any questions. Anyways, I will see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.